What you doing? What you got there? Can I have some? Why are you doing that? Where are we going? Why are you asking so many questions? Just curious. What's up? This is Ray with Get Real Ray, a place and space for life and business tips from this creative soul to hopefully inspire you on your journey, or at the very least, provide you with some laughs. So let's get real. Let's get real about asking good questions. And are you asking the wrong questions? So the past few months, I've been using a lot of Google's Gemini AI in order to help me with a different like business issues that I was encountering. For instance, I knew that I needed to separate different aspects of my business, Choreography by Ray. I was providing acting services as well as dance services, and the acting was just getting buried under the dance, and I didn't want to take on more acting clients. So my business name was Choreography by Ray because when I started the business, I was focused on helping people love dance and movement. And instead of saying, I teach ballet, I teach hip hop, and then having to, wrestle with that, I just said, you know what? I teach choreography. I provide movement, okay? You can call it ballet, you can call it hip hop, it could be flexibility, it could be a number of things, but I teach movement. That is what I do. Because it wasn't so much about the specific style of dance, but just being able to move your body. And so with that being said, that has served me very well over the years. But when I found myself with an opportunity to take my acting knowledge and to help people with that, well, you're searching for an acting coach. Choreography by Ray comes up and you're like, huh? I want someone that's a coach, an acting coach, not a dancer, right? So with that being said, I feel very fortunate that I've been able to share my different skills with people in a number of different avenues. But I also had a business name that just wasn't allowing me to make sure the world knew, hey, I help you with your acting too. I can help you with that. Or, I can help you with your fashion design. You need to know the basics. I got you. I used to have my own fashion label, girl. I got you. I can teach you the basics of sewing. So, lo and behold, I use this tool, AI tool, saying, hey, I've got this website. I need to separate my brand. I can't handle having another 2-3 websites. I think at the time I already had 4 or 5, and some of them weren't being updated as regularly as they should be. It also meant having to purchase more, I use WordPress, so more plugins in order to get those sites to have all the necessary features that Choreography by Ray does. I was like, I had a point where I had 10 websites and it was not good. It was very frustrating because I was always going, oh, I got to go on this site and update this. And oh my gosh, this site hasn't been updated in forever. And I'm not going to remember to log into all these dashboards. And I didn't want that to be my life again. Like, I just can't. I know that you want to build your brand about the service you try. But I mean, look at Amazon. They're not selling the Amazon rainforest, people. So come on now. One needs to be able to move beyond, branch out. Okay. So using Gemini, I was able to learn that there was such a thing as a WordPress multi-site. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, I have seen this phrase multi-site before, network site. And I don't know what that is. Let me look into it. And I did wind up creating a multi-site, and I was able to ask a lot of questions to Gemini, basically, how, do I need to do this? Do I need to do that? And why isn't this working? And then I was also able to give more intelligent questions and instructions to my web host provider and let them know, hey, I'm doing this multi-site and this is what I need from you. Or I'm doing this multi-site and something's not working. So can you let me know what's going on? Huge saver of time and stress. And I was able to create something that I was not able to do before. I have since been able to use the AI program to help me with other things. Like, I am really trying to explain something to the student. We're not really getting to where I need to get. Is this normal for this age? Is there something that I'm missing? What is the missing element here? And I'm not saying that everything Gemini spits out is perfect, because at times I'm just like, well, that's wrong. That's wrong. That does not apply. But it has been helpful. And through this process of using this AI system, I have realized that even though I am teaching critical thinking, I now need to be really clear and concise in the questions that I ask of this software. For instance, one of the things I'm working right now is a children's book. It's an adaptation of a classic fairy tale. I was already creating this for my podcast, and I have an acting student who is also reading some fairy tales right now. So it's all coming together. And I wanted to make sure that the material is very accessible for him. So I found myself changing words. I'm like, why am I doing all this work, changing words for this one story, for this one client? That's a lot of work. Like, now, let's see what else I could do with the same content, because once it's done, it's done. I'm going to have it, it's going to be finished. Oh, well, why not make it into a story that I can sell and that will be accessible to other families and children who might have the same desire to know about this story, but find the language too difficult to read. So I was able to use this AI software and say, okay, I need some images, and give very, very specific instruction on what kind of images I wanted. I used AI for images in the past and never liked it, to be honest. And I had some interns that were, actually they were early, like freshman year college. And one of my interns, because she's not my student. So one of my interns came up with an illustration for the group, and she was telling us about it. And I said, group, give feedback. And they were like, no. And one of them said, I just don't like the AI thing. It just, I don't know. It just looks, ugh. And we all agreed, like, yeah, it's a nice idea. And the design is nice for what it is, but it's something about this AI generated thing that's really off, and we are not loving it. And so despite her putting in a good amount of work and time into this design, it wasn't used. It was vetoed. And I feel that same way when I see faceless YouTube channels where there's an AI person talking, and I'm like, if it's faceless, then why am I seeing a face? And that's not even your face. And this, what is this, a cartoon character? Like, this is, no, I can't. I can't. And so I really wanted to avoid creating something that would just be a huge turnoff. But by being very clear on what kind of illustration I was looking for, I was able to get the software to help me generate images. And I also found myself able to say, no, that's not what I want. I need for this nose to be bigger, rounder, redder. Gemini, you just generated a king, and this king has like blonde hair, and I don't really want to have a storybook that's focused on telling a story with the same types of characters, but I also have to be mindful of what my responsibility is in terms of representation, because if this is a story that comes from Europe, around Germany and whatnot, then why would I suddenly just make the king a black guy for that time period? It wouldn't make any sense. Am I just doing this to show representation? So not only was I asking Gemini or AI rather, to work with me based on very detailed questions and instructions, but I also had to ask myself big detailed questions and give myself big detailed instructions. Like, okay, your number one responsibility is to tell this story. Your number two responsibility is tell the story in a way that is artistically in alignment with your values, as well as not infringing upon other people's artistry. And then I have to say, my goal is also to help as many children as possible and as many people as possible find the story accessible. And so one of the great things about having stories without pictures is that you can use your own imagination, and the king or the hero can be anything you envision. But once pictures come into play, the person who's created this story, especially the illustrator, is now saying, this is what it's going to look like. The same way when you take a book and turn it into a movie, there's someone saying, this is what it's going to look like. And so all of this comes to the big issue of, have I been asking the right questions, not just in my business, but in my life? So when I was designing the book and designing the illustration for the book, I was asking my question, what should this character look like? Do I want to make this character African-American? Do I want to not make the character African-American in order to stay true to that time period? What does this character even look like in my head? What are going to be the expectations of those reading this story? Who's going to be reading this story? Am I letting people down by not showing diversity in this story? Am I contributing anything new to the world of literature by issuing a book that has images that look just like what everyone else has done in the past? Can I use my own intelligence and ideas to get this program to create something that is unique? Because if I'm going to create something and contribute something to the world, why just be an exact carbon copy of someone else, right? So if I'm applying this to a book that was supposed to just be for like one project, where else in my life am I not asking questions that are deep enough? One of the things that I looked at was, when it comes to growing my business, I have been asking myself, how can I get more clients, right? And then why do I want more clients? Those kind of standard. How can I get more clients? Okay, what am I offering? What am I marketing? Why do I need more clients? Because I do think I have something of value to offer people that I think people can benefit from and use, and financially having that money would allow me to continue to honor my commitments, pay bills, live a joyful life, be able to help others, the things, right? How can I go deeper? How can I go beyond what I'm currently asking? Because what I've been asking, what I keep asking, is giving me the same results, right? So maybe When will I feel I have grown my business to the point in which I have checked off all the boxes? And I would say in the past, I've asked myself, when do I need to have X number of clients by? But there's a difference between when do I need to have X number of clients by and looking at the dollar signs, as opposed to when will I feel I have achieved something that I'm satisfied with. And why does that when question even matter? So let's take it out of my business and let's apply it to your life. Oh, okay. So you might be asking yourself, why am I not having as much fun with my partner right now? Why do we not hang out? Why do we not do things? So you might say, well, my partner and I are not having as much fun now because we don't hang out, we don't do things together. Well, why don't we do things together? Because we're always tired. We're exhausted. We've got kids. We're busy with work. I'm just tired. Okay, that's fine. So go beyond that moment. What do you want? What would make you feel differently? Are you okay with the fact that you and your partner don't hang out anymore? Chances are, if you're asking yourself the question, then you might not be okay with the fact that you and your partner don't hang out anymore. Okay, so maybe you decide, I'm not so sure how I feel about that. I'm not so sure how I feel about the fact that we just don't hang out and do stuff anymore. That at the end of the day, we're both just like, hey, let's do this for the kids, let's do that for the kids, and then let's go to bed. And next day starts again. So, what do you want from your relationship? What do you foresee? Okay, well, I really want to feel like my partner and I are still connected. We understand each other. We're there for each other. And we're not just two people occupying the same space. I want to feel recognized. I want to feel loved. And I want to feel like I am loving. More importantly, I don't want to feel like I am just exhausted all the time and that I am all consumed by thoughts of the kids. Okay, great. Now, how can you change that feeling? When would you feel like those things have changed? So how can I change that feeling? Well, my partner can have more date nights. Okay. What would you get out of having more date nights? I mean, you already said you're exhausted. So what's the real reality of you having a date night? Why are you not having more date nights? Is it because you guys don't have time to plan date nights? Because you're so exhausted? Because you're so busy? When would there be enough time for you to have those date nights, for you to not feel exhausted, for you to not feel so busy? If it's like, I'll do it later, then you're just going to keep having the same results, the same feelings. So at what point do you break things down so much till you get to a non-negotiable and an actionable? Okay. So you're non-negotiable and you're actionable. So just as an example, I had the experience where both me and my partner wanted to feel more connected. My partner's non-negotiable was, he was like, I do not want to leave where we live. I want to stay here. That is a non-negotiable for me. Whereas for me, a non-negotiable was to continue to living where we were living, because when I went into the relationship, I went in with the understanding that we would not stay in that area forever. And we had many conversations where I said, I don't want to stay here. This is not my future. So once we figured out the non-negotiables, right, we had to figure out then, how do we take action in order to move forward. Now, this is starting to feel like the world's worst example, because in my situation, the moving forward meant that we just had to say goodbye to each other. Like, that was what it came down to. Now, the saying goodbye wasn't just because I wanted to move and he didn't. That's not what it was. That wasn't the core motivation for saying goodbye. But that's just giving you an example of what is your non-negotiable, the thing that you will not budge on. Okay, so let's go back to our fictitious relationship. Our fictitious relationship, which is you and your partner want to feel more connected. You want to feel, or maybe you, right? You can't speak for your partner. So you want to feel more connected with your partner. You don't want to feel like you're just two people occupying the same space, as I mentioned. Okay, so maybe for you, a non-negotiable is you're not going to run out and you're not going to do crazy drunken wild nights like you did when you were younger. And you're not going to be like, let's open up this relationship and invite some other parties in. Those are just non-negotiable. It's not happening. You know, you're just like, no, we're not having other people in the bedroom. I'm not going to suddenly pretend that I am 10 years younger than I am, or 20 years younger than I am, or 5 years younger than I am, and start dressing a certain way, acting a certain way, speaking a certain way, going to various clubs. That's part of my past. It's not what I want my future to be. Okay, so those are non-negotiables. Great. Now you might decide, I do miss going out to like nightlife events. So if that's the case, then it's not a non-negotiable, because it's something you're willing to explore. Like, I miss going out to those nightlife events. Maybe we can plan a date night where we go to see a new band or see an old band we like. Or maybe it's not even a date night. Maybe it's just a couple's trip that we do without the kids. We already take 2 trips a year with the kids. Why don't we do this just for ourselves? Let me talk to my partner and find out what they're thinking, what they're feeling, if they're willing to buy in on this idea. Communication is also part of the arrangement. So you can't just keep it all into yourself and just make all plans by yourself, because if part of the dissatisfaction involves another person or another business or your relationship with something else, then you want to get some buy-in from the other party. Don't worry, I'll get back to the other business thing in a second. Okay, so, but let's say you found your non-negotiable, you're not going to, you know exactly what you're not willing to do or not willing to give up. Great, good on you, boo. So now you have to look at your actionable. Okay, so I know that I want to feel closer to my partner. I don't want to feel like every day is the same for this relationship. I'm a bit bored. I've decided I'm not going to run out and have an affair, because that's not going to bring me closer to my partner. That's just going to make me feel like someone else is paying attention to me. I've decided that my partner and I are not going to suddenly start dressing like teenagers or throw wild, crazy parties, or, I don't know, shave our heads and abandon our kids for weeks. I don't know your life. But I decided that that's not going to happen. So it's not on the table. It's not of interest to discuss. I figured out my non-negotiables are. So what are my actionables? Okay, so what am I willing to do in order to develop that connection? What does connection mean to me? Well, connection means to me talking to each other and feeling like I know what the other person is thinking or feeling at times. Or connection to me might mean holding hands, or being able to curl up and snuggle next to the other person, give them a hug while watching TV, and feeling that I'm safe and I'm okay and that we're just in this together. There's a lot of different ways you can define connection. So with that being said, what is actionable? Well, I could let my partner know, I could give my partner more praise or more hugs, or invite them to sit next to me. Maybe I sit next to them, see how they respond, see if they move away, see if they're looking at me like, what, are you crazy? Why why are you hugging me right now? And if that's the case, if that's the response, like, what are you doing? Then letting them know what I'm doing. Like, I miss how when we first started dating or when we were first married, we used to always sit next to each other and hug each other. I miss that. Are there things that you miss about this relationship or you would like to see different about my relationship? Let's have an honest conversation. There's no punishment or penalty for having this honest conversation. And then you have to remember to stick to this idea of no punishment or penalty for having this honest conversation as you both ask yourself deep questions of each other and of yourselves, right? Because it's all about asking really good questions. Now you might be like, okay, well, I wasn't having any relationship trouble. I was actually wondering what you be asking Chat GPT or whatever, right? Okay, I don't use Chat GPT, I use Gemini, but whatever. So in terms of business, asking deep questions. Well, as I mentioned, asking myself, how can I get more clients? Let's change the question though. One question I'm having is, should I make this new course? Should I make this new course? Should I do this new podcast? Why should I? Before I'm going to embark on that adventure, invest the time and the money, because my time and money and energy are limited resources. You can even take money off the table. Just time and energy are limited resources. Should I do X, Y, Z? Well, why should I do this? Well, I should do this podcast because it's a really nice way for me to finally do something that I always wanted to do, which is to get people excited about children's stories. Okay, and just revisiting these children's stories, these stories that I love. So that is why I should do the podcast. Are there any other reasons why I would do this? Because all of us, I mean, that's me doing for someone else. Is there something that I get out of this? Well, it does check something off my list of things I want to do. Okay, I want to read children's stories and I want to explore the meanings of those children's stories. Okay, that's something that satisfies me. Doesn't matter if it satisfies anybody else, it satisfies me. Good job. Okay, now with that being said, what about time? Well, is there a way for me to find the time other than just making space in my calendar? Because that's not going to be sustainable. Something else comes along that requires more attention, more energy, gives me more money, then that podcast is going to go away. Well, actually, I used to run a podcast. I like podcasting, and I can do this in a way that allows me to also do acting because I'm an actor. I love acting. And so now we have my enjoyment of stories, my enjoyment of digging into the meaning behind certain stories. And now we're using a skill that I already have, which is acting, which I really enjoy doing. So now I'm no longer looking at this as, oh, this podcast is going to take away my time, but now it's an investment of time into my acting. Okay, well, this is sounding really good. So we have an investment of time for acting. Anything else there? Well, what skills will I need to podcast? I do already, and what tools? What skills and what tools? Okay, well, I'm going to need the story. Duh. So is that going to be easy to find? All right, finding the stories. I already know what kind of stories I want to do, so finding the stories will be easy for the most part. Great. What skills I am going to need to be able to form these stories? Well, I am already an actor, so that's not going to be too hard, but when I go through the stories, I see that there are multiple characters. So now I have to ask myself, how many different character voices do I have? How much time do I want to spend creating new character voices? How much time do I want to spend improving my ability to do character voices? And then what's my limit? When do I say, oop, okay, there's way too many characters in the story. I don't want to do all these voices. Nope. Nah, done. That's a non-negotiable. And so for me, I have found, I think it's like 6 characters. I did a story recently where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I made it up to definitely 6 characters. possibly 8. But I was like, oh, this is a lot. I'm struggling to remember who was who. The story is really long. So I should have asked myself in the beginning, how many characters am I willing to do? Like, what's my maximum? But I didn't, because it just didn't occur to me. I just was thinking, this is a good story. It looks like there's only 2 characters. How much time do I want to spend doing research is another thing. I mean, finding stories is one thing. Remembering a good story is another thing. But then really breaking down that story and figuring out all of the components in order to make it happen in a way that satisfies me artistically and will be enjoyable for others. Whew, okay, so definitely not doing more than 6 characters. I don't want to do a lot of research. I have other things that I need to do in order to pay my bills. So if I'm going to invest time into this, I have to make sure that it is not taking so much time that is detracting from work that is going to pay my bills. It would be great if this could pay me, but I have to accept that in the immediate moment, it's not going to pay me. So I'm thinking about how much time I'm going to invest, how much talent or skill I currently have, what other skills that I need to acquire. I have experience in editing podcasts, editing sound, editing video. So this should feel pretty good. But then also dipping the toe into the water, doing one, trying, do I like this, right? Going back to that relationship example. Okay, so you and your partner plan to go drive an hour away to go to a concert. You arrange for your in-laws to babysit, or you hire a babysitter, and you're feeling good about this decision. You get to ask yourself, you just focus on the first concert, right? You don't have to think about, we're going to do this every month or twice a year or anything. Just focus on that first event. And then ask yourself afterwards, how do we feel about this? Were we nervous about the kids the whole time? Did we have fun? Did we slip back into our old single selves before we were crazy with work and kids? Did we even connect? Were we talking to each other? Did we laugh at each other? Did we dance? Did we just focus on the band and the food? Did we invite another couple along? Were we more interested in talking to the other couple and trying to connect with the other couple than we were connecting with ourselves? Is this meeting the initial goal? Is it fulfilling the purpose? And so when looking at asking questions of oneself, it's really good to ask more questions, deeper questions. Why are you asking questions? Because you're going to a point of being able to give yourself more detailed instruction for what you want out of your life. And that is the connection with when it comes to interacting with your AI, whatever. You need to be able to develop the skill to really give detailed information or ask really detailed questions in order to get the result that is going to benefit you. When I asked Gemini to give me a character draw me a picture of a certain character from a children's fairy tale, the image that it gave me, I was like, I don't know. I don't know that I like that. And then after another prompt, I was like, no, this feels actually like it's just I hate to say it, but it felt racist. The character felt racist. And I felt like this is a stereotypical caricature of a group of people, and I am not aware of any history of this group of people being associated with this fairy tale character, but I cannot put out a book that might potentially buy into that idea and promote something that just feels wrong. And I did some research, and I did find some information that stated that there were people who associated a group of people with this character, and there are a lot of stories that feature cautions from parents be basically saying, watch out for those people. But I felt like this is a distraction because this is not the heart of the story. The heart of the story is something completely different as opposed to just this watch out for those people kind of thing. So I'm not even gonna deal with that. And I was able to ask myself, well, what? Okay. So if I know it should not look like that, if I know that's my non-negotiable, like I'm not putting that in my book, then what do I want to see? And so asking myself other questions like, what would make this less offensive? Well, should he have a beard? Oh no. Or what's really about the nose? The nose is out of this world, not okay. So what's like a non-offensive nose? What just feels like it's fun cartoon land? Big, round, red. Yep, that feels cartoon land to me. I'm also thinking, do I want something a little creepy? Do I want this character to be a little green and non-human, or have a big wart on their nose with hairs coming out? Do I want them to have pointy ears, big ears, small ears, no ears, hair? And just asking myself different questions. Now, I'm not putting all this into the AI program, but I am able to use this information to judge the pictures that's giving me. I am able to put some of this into the program in order for it to alter the image that's given me and to create something more along the lines of what I feel would be acceptable and I can move forward with. Now, we talked about how you can apply this idea of asking detailed questions in order to allow yourself to get the results you want. We've talked about that application to my work. We've talked about that application to your potential relationship life. Let's just briefly touch on it in terms of application to your work experience. So maybe you are not a solopreneur. Maybe you are not anyone who is feeling like they're creative any way, shape, or form. And you're like, girl, I work in an office. I'm in human resources. I don't need AI to draw me a picture because I'm not publishing a book this year. Okay, I got you. But you work in human resources. Are you satisfied with your position in human resources? I mean, if you're satisfied with your position, then you want to think about how you can apply the tools as asking deeper questions of yourself and of others. Apply those tools to your interpersonal relationships, whatever the thing is that you're not satisfied with, right? If you're not satisfied with your weight, then ask yourself a deeper question of, okay, so if I'm not satisfied with weight, what do I expect myself to weigh? Why am I not satisfied? What am I currently doing in order to change the way I feel about my weight? Is it just like a total mindset thing that I need to do? Or am I literally eating fatty, junky food that has no nutritional value every night? Is that why I'm feeling not good about my weight? Am I actually eating really healthy, but I don't have time to exercise? Is that something I need to focus on? Am I eating healthy, have time to exercise, but because of other medical conditions, I can't exercise? Okay, so what do I need to talk to my doctor about in order to find some things that I can do with my limited mobility based on my physical illness? But let's say that you do want to make changes with your HR job lifestyle, okay? So you are in a job, you enjoy the career path you are on, however, you kind of feel like, I love a raise. Now, we've talked about this before in terms of being able to ask questions, or just being able to ask for a raise, right? And asking yourself questions of yourself, am I doing the things that I need to do to make me eligible for that raise, to warrant giving me more money? Am I making myself undeniable in this quest for a raise? So that's something that we've talked about before. But also, when looking at this job satisfaction, right? So maybe you are in HR for a nonprofit, you want a raise, you definitely feel that you are doing the things that you need to be doing in order to get a raise. You have stepped up, you've asked your supervisor for a raise, and they're like, we love you, we can't give you a raise, there's no additional money. Or maybe you don't ask for a raise because you already know that this nonprofit does not have any additional money, and you guys might all be shut down in 6 months or a year. So things that you can control. Okay, so why do you want to raise? First, look at that. Why do you want to raise? Well, I want more money. Why do you want more money? Well, I want more money because I think I deserve it. Well, why do you think you deserve more money? Because my skills are really useful to this company. I know that there are other people being paid more money for doing the same job. And I've been working at this company for a while now, and they're just not competitive in pay. So then you get to ask yourself, well, what's more important to me? Staying in this job where I know we all might be out of a job in 6 months to a year and they cannot pay me more money? Or am I willing to go work elsewhere, start looking for a new job now, go work elsewhere where I know I'll be paid more and these skills will be used? Am I willing to put myself out there and get to learn the routine of a new company, get into the flow of a different company, be the new kid on the block again, be uncomfortable for a moment? Or is that a non-negotiable? Is my non-negotiable that, no, I'm not changing my job until they put the foot on my rear and kick me out the door? Like, I will look for a new job if this place actually shuts down. I will wait to that date. Otherwise, I'm good. Okay. So if that's the case, if otherwise you're good, then how do you feel about that raise? You just decided you can't ask for it. Your non-negotiables that you're not going to go anywhere else. So is that raise still the issue? Or is it just the issue is you just want more money? And if you just want more money, then you get to look at other areas of your life. Why do you want more money? Well, I want to be able to do X, Y, Z. Are there other things that you're currently doing that you can give up that don't really mean anything to you and therefore would let you have more money in order to do X, Y, Z? Or do you want to spend some time doing a side hustle, tutoring, Uber, food delivery? There's so many different things. Selling things from your closet. Do you want to spend time investing, creating another source of income? Because maybe that's just not of interest to you. So then it goes right back to, okay, how can I change what I'm currently doing in order for me to have more money? Because apparently my issue is I want more money, not really that I want to raise for my current employer. So I hope you found this helpful. This was a little bit longer. I know we were going from 30 minutes to 20 minutes. And I had a few disruptions while recording this. But I just find the power of asking good questions and giving clear instructions to have been really useful in me making huge progress in my life, especially recently with, I think I got 4 podcasts. That's a lot. And then 4 or 5 YouTube channels. Some of them are just the podcast on top of my paid work, which is teaching. And then, of course, there's my acting work and writing books. And I'm looking forward to doing another mini movie. And I have some footage recorded, but I still have to make room, make space to finish recording. And there's some non-negotiables I've had when it comes to recording. Like, yeah, I can easily just throw up the camera and record, but this is not the setting, not like this specific setting, but whatever. This is not the setting that I want, or this is not the lighting that I want. It's not going to add to the story in the way I want it to. What am I doing with this story? I'm going to use this story to XYZ beyond just what I've currently been doing with just YouTube. And so asking myself more questions to where I'm at a point where I figured out my action and I'm okay with my action. And of course, I figured out my action, which is to schedule that I will be recording more when I'm at specific location. And I've already made sure that I have day and time to make these things happen. And in terms of energy, making sure that the things that happen before the event and after the event are organized in such a way where I'm not stressed about the thing I gotta do once I'm done doing the thing I said I wanted to do. or stressed about, can I finish everything before I do the thing that I said I wanted to do and make that change? And so, my friends, I know it was a lot, but I hope you're good. And if not, you can just watch the shorts. Until next time, peace.